You take your fingers out?
As many of you might know, we built a Dungeons & Dragons table for Joe Manganiello about 2 years ago.
Wow.
Well,
Holy
And we got a lot of comments on that video saying that it didn't count as a real Dungeons & Dragons table because it didn't have a lot of the features that you usually see on a D&D table. Well, this client saw the video of the table we made for Joe Manganiello, and he decided that he was going to commission a real D&D table. So this process begins pretty normally, just like the Joe table. We start by selecting the slabs, and this client also selected some Bastogne walnut, and we're getting them flattened on our Avid CNC machine in preparation for the resin pour. So we're just taking off those rough sawn marks so that they're going to sit flat in the mold.
Yeah, this should work. If anything, that'll look better. I would almost want to flip this other one around too. You don't like dogs? I don't think I believe that.
where's this dog?
In the middle. So just push it over a bit more. Oh, you got wood. Okay, alright, put yours, let go, and I'm just gonna drop. Read it, full head.
Yeah, you got that on camera? It was all Garrett.
Yeah, I'll take credit for this one.
And make sure you take credit for that last pour.
I do.
Hold on.
Put your end down.
Yep, just about to. We should, we just gotta trim like a
Yeah.
smidgen.
Yeah, a smidgen into texture.
Are you gonna have enough
You're
room?
gonna put edge down first?
Are you gonna have enough
I
room?
think so, yeah. So let's put live edge in first. Okay,
Go.
you take your fingers out.
But remember on camera when you said that you gave me the right numbers for the size of the slab you cut? See how I decided to make it fit, Garrett?
You're like a National Geographic photographer. You gotta get us saying things as it's happening. We don't say them again.
You're ruining the audio.
That's why
Yeah,
I did it then.
because it's nature, it's natural.
We're in nature right now.
Yeah, nature room.
We're just getting ready to pour 2 custom tables right now. So this first one is going to be a gaming table, and it's going to be quite a bit different than anything we've ever done before. This top that we're doing as one pour right now is going to be able to get broken apart into multiple pieces and all like notched together with magnets and then expose a felt surface beneath. So it's pretty interesting. And yeah, it looks like we're going to need a little more resin, but better that than have too much. And this is Bastogne walnut for the wood species. It was what, 10 drops of black?
10 black and 5 purple.
10 drops of black and 5 drops of purple to achieve this color here.
Stiff as a brisket. This is why. Free.
Use all leaves. You have to cut it up into leaves.
Right, yeah.
Once we've got the piece demolded, we can get it lifted downstairs onto our CNC machine to take off that excess layer of resin that was left during the pour. Here's where this table starts to go a little bit differently than the one we made for Joe. Instead of being left in a single piece, we're going to be cutting this top up into multiple pieces so that it can actually be completely removed and expose a felted playing surface beneath. So this top piece, our resin pour, is kind of the show piece or the dining piece that our client is going to do their regular day-to-day activities at. And then when they have people over and they want to set up some games like D&D, they can remove all of this and have all those board games set up beneath, and they can even leave them in the table. So if they have an ongoing game, they can leave it right where it is. So it feels kind of wrong, I will say, taking this nice big pour and cutting it up into pieces, but trust me, by the end of the video, you're going to agree that this is probably the right choice. Now this next part of the video is going to be a dead giveaway that this is a bit of an older piece. You're looking at our old sander, and to us it's actually quite weird watching this back because it looks so small, and by no means was this a little sander, but compared to our new giant SCM machine, this thing looks like a cute little baby sander. So we're sending it through, we're getting it all sanded up on both sides just to save us some labor in our hand sanding process. And then once this part is complete, we can take the pieces over to our CNC machine to not only cut them to their perfect final size, but also install the tongue and grooves that are going to allow these pieces to fasten together. We're not just going to have them butt up straight to each other on the tabletop, because then with any wood movement, you could get larger gaps that form, and with any spills, you could get things that drip all the way down to the underside of the table. So we're going to use our machine to cut them perfectly to size so all of the faces butt up nicely to each other. And then we're going to be putting, like I said, a tongue and a groove on opposite ends of this piece. So we're going to go ahead and pour our transparent epoxy tongues, and those will get later glued into place. Once all of our grooves have been run on the CNC machine, we can then begin working on all the imperfections on these pieces. One thing that Bastogne walnut is somewhat susceptible to is bug holes. We see it in a lot of the pieces we work on. It's mostly concentrated to those outside sapwood edges, and they look kind of cool when they're finished, but it does result in a lot of extra labor to go ahead and fill those in. So we use a combination of products for this. We use our Black Forest Coat Thin Resin for the initial coat to get a lot of those bigger voids. Then we will sand off that excess, and from there we'll use our Black Forest Quick Fix 5-minute cure epoxy and our Black Forest CA glue, as they are much quicker products that are better suited for a lot of those small voids. Then we're putting a 2mm 45-degree bevel on most of the edges on these pieces, but we're going to skip the edges where those components meet each other because we don't want to exaggerate that gap. We're just going to lightly break those with the sanding block instead of taking the router to them. Now, unfortunately, we had one of our hard drives get corrupted, so we lost the footage of us machining this logo into the client's table. But this was a logo that he sent to us. I can't actually recall off the top of my head what it's from. Maybe it has some relation to D&D that I'm sure you guys are going to remind me of in the comments below. But essentially, we just used our shaper router to machine it in. We uploaded the file, and then we filled it in with our Black Forest Coat Thin Epoxy, and then took it all off using an orbital sander, and it just gives this really nice recessed inlay in the top side of the table. Then we're taking it over to our finishers to get the 2-component sprayed acrylic urethane finish. Since these pieces are going to get handled a lot, they might even brush up against each other from time to time while our client is moving them on and off the table. They wanted to have the most durable coating that we could put on these pieces. And at this time, it was the acrylic urethane. Since this point, we've started using that UV LED cure oil, which has a very close durability to the acrylic urethane. But if you are looking for that ultimate durability, the acrylic urethane is going to be the hardest finish that we offer. So our finisher sprays 4 or 5 coats of this product on, completely sealing all of the faces. And then once it's cured, we can bring it back to our shop. Before we can get a look at the finished product for this, we need to make that substrate, which is going to be the actual playing surface for this table. So we're constructing all of these components from a dark gray stained ash. Usually we do that black and finish, but this client wanted something a little bit lighter, so you'll get to see that dark gray finish that we end up using later. There's a few key features that this structure is going to have for our client. Number one, to give extra support to the tabletop pieces, we're going to be installing a long stretcher that goes down the middle and stops them from sagging. But then in terms of gaming function, there's a groove that goes around the entire outside of this table that we have constructed custom cup holders for, so that our client can have his guests slide their cup holders in, take them anywhere down the length of the table without obstructing the playing surface where they're going to have their D&D games going on. So that 3-piece lamination that you just saw is for these outside frame components. These are the pieces that have those grooves for the cup holders in them, and once our stack lamination is done, we can then set up to glue all of these pieces together with our plywood core in the center. We almost never use plywood on our pieces, but we decided it was going to be best for this one because we needed something that was going to have good stability. If we were to have used solid wood, there's a good chance that that center panel may have warped, especially considering that we're going to be covering one side of it with felt. So it wouldn't really have equal breathing on either side of the panel, and that's why we opted to go with the plywood. And it's also just going to be getting painted black underneath, so you're never really going to tell the difference anyways. Once our glue up is dry and we have everything out of the clamps, then we can start working on some of the detail work on this piece. So just like the tabletop, we're putting that 2mm 45-degree bevel to soften a lot of those corners, and then we can get the piece sanded up to 320 grit. And here's that stretcher piece that I mentioned a little bit earlier. So this is going to support the weak part of the tabletop, and that's going to be the resin river. The wood isn't going to experience much sagging across the width, but the resin is going to be a little bit of a weak point, and if we didn't have this piece in the middle to give some support, over time there is a chance that it would go a little bit lower in the middle than it is on the ends, and then you wouldn't have that smooth surface on top when you have the dining pieces on there. Now obviously this piece could get in the way during gaming, so we've designed it to be fixed in place with magnets, and our client can easily take it out when he wants to use that playing surface. Now if you're extra attentive, you're probably noticing a mistake that we're making right now. I mentioned that this client wanted this piece to get stained a really dark gray and not our usual solid black. But what we're putting on right now is the solid black finish. We're just so used to doing the colors that we usually do. Most of our clients go with that black stain, that's what got grabbed here. So after we finished this process, we had to go back, sand it all off, and put that gray stain on. Another thought that some of you might have had watching this video is, what is our client supposed to do with those top pieces when they're not using them and they want to be gaming on their table? Well, we did think of that as well. I should say our client thought of that because he requested this addition. We're building a custom solid ash box that all of the pieces can get stored inside while they're using the playing surface.
The upholstery goes up to that,
Sorry, I
so
lied
we
to you
can
earlier,
catch it,
Mr. Metal.
and then it'll go all the way down.
Okay.
So
Instead of
it'll
a hot
be
shit.
right here. You can see that'll be the flat.
Yeah.
I think it'll look really.
I don't know.
Oh, so this will all get taken
The whole
apart,
thing's-
upholstered.
After it's finished. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
I'll
then we'll
together.
put it together.
Yeah. We're not going to do
cool.
the outside, just
Yeah.
because we want to sand that flush after.
Yep.
But everything else will be put together, and we'll sand it, finish the back.
Oh. This will be nice even on its own.
You felt the weight of it though.
No. Oh. I mean, it's pretty much like a solid cube of ash, just with a
Literally, yeah.
couple hollowed sections.
It's a brick of ash.
Yeah.
Basically a stump.
So this ended up being quite a labor-intensive process because we had to bevel and round over all of the edges to make sure everything dropped in nicely without getting caught on edges or scratching anything. And then after we got this all together, we need to apply the finish. And as you can see, we grabbed the right stain this time. We're doing that dark gray stain over everything. So it gets one coat of stain, and then we'll do 2 coats of the clear coat before we can go ahead and glue down our adhesive felt. So we're just using a spray adhesive, and we line everything up by hand. We kind of thought that it was a little too risky to have the tabletop pieces brushing up against the raw wood. The felt work for this piece did end up being quite tedious because we had to ensure that we still had raw wood sections where we were going to be gluing. So we ended up just taping everything off, laying down our felt around our tape sections, and from there we can go ahead with our final glue up. So to do that, we just used the Festool dominoes, a little bit of Titebond 3, and a few good smacks. Box is together and ready to store our client's pieces. And now we can see the cup holders that I mentioned earlier. So the client again requested this custom addition to be put on his table, and we have 2 variations that we're creating. So there's one for a stemmed wine glass and then one just for a regular glass. The one for the standard glass is also going to have a walnut insert in the bottom just so you don't have that hollow section underneath, and it can accommodate various sizes of glasses. And then the one with the stem, you would essentially just slide your wine glass in and it would hang by the bowl of the glass. So John's doing his first little test fit here on that. And what's really nice with those pieces is that there's no hardware required for them. They're just held in place with that little lip and gravity. And the only way that they could really get knocked out of place is if someone bumped them from underneath, which I guess hypothetically could happen, but we haven't heard any complaints from our client yet. For lots of legroom clearance on this table, the client opted for our signature X base. Again, instead of that usual black and finish, we're doing the dark gray on this piece, and it's the same process. So we do a coat of stain and then 2 coats of clear afterwards. However, on this piece, since it doesn't need the sprayed acrylic urethane finish, we're going to be using our Black Forest UV LED cure oil. And this is a chance to give ourselves a little bit of a plug here. So one of those products that some of you may have already heard us mention is this brand new finish. It's very similar to our traditional furniture oil. However, it cures instantly with the use of a UV LED light. Now, there is other products out there on the market that are very similar to this, but I would encourage you guys to do the math and the cost comparison on our product versus the competitors. We are less than half the price of some of the competitors out there, and we are very excited to offer this to our entire audience.
Oh, that'll be nice once it's all cleaned up and not dusty.
Yeah.
Now finally, we can begin laying out for the X base to get fastened to the underside of this table. So the same as all of our pieces, we use 1/4-inch steel plates that get screwed directly into the top side of the base, and then we have slotted holes that we'll use threaded inserts to fasten the base itself to the underside of the table.
Hit that. Woo, that was close. Alright. Randy, we basically just want it close and then we can slide it from underneath.
Yeah.
Felt the
Alright, you can get every single insert on this plate. Just go a little more.
I hate to say it, Garrett.
A little more. Slide it straight this way.
Straight towards the forearm. More?
Alright.
You guys taking all
So this is the first table we've done in the style like this, and really all of this idea came from our client. So he wanted a gaming table. I think primarily he's going to play Dungeons and Dragons here, but that had one of our signature tops with a removable surface and then a felted playing surface beneath. So we're going to show you guys how it all works right now. There's also integrated cup holders that we've designed to go with this, and then of course we've got on one of our X bases. So here's the table in gaming mode. This little middle piece, that's just to give us support on our river pieces in the middle where there's only epoxy. And then all of this upholstery we had done by our friends at Timeless. And then like John showed, we've just got these little cup holders here that have a bit of a shape on the end, and they've machined a groove in here, so all of that just falls right into place, holds in with gravity. And then this box has been constructed just for storage, so all of the pieces fit perfectly in there. We did all of this felt ourselves. It turned out really, really nice, and it's just a way to hold these and also display them when they're not in use. So to recap, this table was constructed from Bastogne walnut, tinted Black Forest deep resin. We have a gray stained ash. We finished the tabletop using an acrylic urethane and our Black Forest ceramic coating, and the base components are all finished in our Black Forest LED cure oil. So now that you guys have got to see what a real D&D table looks like, we would love to hear your thoughts. Would you get one like Joe's where it's just a plain tabletop that you can use for whatever you want? Or would you get the custom one like this that has all the special functions built into it so you can actually store your board games within the table? Love to hear what you guys think. Leave your comments below. Thank you as always for watching. And exciting news, we've got back-to-back videos scheduled for next week, so stay tuned for next Friday.